While I really love a chewy pizza dough, after spending a couple weeks in Italy this past summer and having a Roman style pizza that is thin and crispy, I actually love that one as well. So I developed this Einkorn pizza kind of around that idea of a thinner and a crispier crust. Einkorn flour, of course, is a wonderful ancient grain flour that is perfect in this pizza recipe. So make sure you stick around. I'm going to show you how to do this step by step. And as always, of course, don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss any of the new videos coming out. Okay, so we're going to start by activating the yeast. And you do this by adding the water and the yeast. Let them sit for just a couple minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes at the most. And you'll see it'll start to get kind of foamy. After it's activated, you add in the remaining ingredients, and then you're going to let this mix. I did it in a mixer, but you can also do this by hand if you want. Start out, obviously, with a spoon, and then just turn it onto your surface and start kneading. Now, Einkorn is a low or weak gluten flour. And what that means is that you just don't necessarily need to knead it that much. You're not going to develop a lot of gluten like what you would with other higher protein, higher gluten flours. So I just kind of let this come together in the bowl, and this is just for ease, is starting it in the bowl. You're going to scrape it out of the bowl, and you can see how tacky this is, or sticky that it is. Although Einkorn does not... It doesn't absorb as much moisture as other whole grain flours. It does over time, but just not as much as, like spelt or other red or white wheat. So you're going to start kneading this. It's a little bit sticky if you need to. Sprinkle down just a tiny bit of Einkorn flour. Once it's fairly smooth, I divide this into 4 pieces. If you want smaller pizzas, you'll see that my pizza is pretty good size. You can always cut it down into smaller pieces if you want. And then I put it into a pan, cover it, and it's going to sit overnight at least. Now the next day when you're getting, and here I'm showing you how sticky it still is. The next day when you're getting ready to bake, be sure to pull this dough out for at least 2 or 3 hours before you bake it. You just want to let it come to room temperature, and it'll also continue to rise too after you pull it out after that cool rise. Now, because this is thin and crispy, normally with pizza dough you don't want to handle it too much, of course, because you don't want to break down those beautiful air bubbles that you formed. But because this is a thinner dough, I don't necessarily worry about it that much. So I just want to show you can either do it with your hand, as I was showing you, or I eventually went to a rolling pin and did it very thin. Now, as with all pizzas, you want to bake this really, really hot. Top it how you like. There's a million different ways to do this. And then bake it very, very hot for just a few minutes. I did one on a sheet pan, as I'm showing here, but also in my pizza oven as well. I did it at 550 on convection in my oven, and it took probably 8 minutes. This was 8 to 10 minutes later. I can't remember what it was. But when I do it in my pizza oven, it usually takes maybe 2 minutes at the most. And then just slice it, enjoy it how you like, and I hope that you love this dough just as much as I do. It's made with a whole grain flour, but it's so delicious, thin and crispy.